Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Like, Share, Follow. And this week, I have the amazing Jemma Jones, who is a program coordinator at the Australian Maths Trust and also a University of the Sunshine Coast grad who also studied social media at USC. So, welcome, Jemma. And
Thanks for having me.
chatting to say, and you said you've graduated in 2018. So, tell me, what have you been doing from then until now? Because you're in Canberra.
Yeah, I'm down in chilly Canberra at the moment. So after I finished uni, I just went through a bit of a period where I wanted to try exploring different options and kind of living somewhere new in Australia. So I applied for jobs all around Australia except for essentially the major cities, and I was offered an event coordinator role here in Canberra for a not-for-profit. And so I really wanted to work for a not-for-profit after I finished uni as well. That was one of my main goals. So I jumped at the opportunity and moved down to Canberra. And after being in my role for about 2 weeks, they asked me if I wanted to essentially become an event manager while the events I was planning were on. So that involved traveling to Sydney and Melbourne a couple of times, and I was able to head over to Perth, which was awesome. And then around 6 months after that, they asked me if I wanted to coordinate the entire program that I run. Yeah, so it's been a pretty fun ride so far, and just growing more comfortable in this role and within the organisation, and yeah, just building that confidence and feeling like I'm making a real difference with the students and the teachers and the schools that I'm working directly with, which has been awesome.
And so that's amazing. So you had two promotions in the space of what time frame?
Around 6 months.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
so
thank you. So it's a big confidence booster, especially being a fresh grad and just feeling like the work you're doing is really being appreciated by your managers and others within
yeah.
the organization. Yeah.
And well done on your employers, because sometimes what happens when you're doing a job really well, like some organizations will just keep you there because they're like, well, it's all going very well. So good on them for
Yeah.
recognizing your expertise and keep elevating you. So that's great. And so tell
Yeah.
me more about Australian Maths Trust. Like what is the organisation? What do they do?
So we're a national charity based here in Canberra, and what we do is basically empower young students, primary and high school students, through mathematics and informatics. The slogan of the Maths Trust is to empower a nation of young problem solvers. So we have resources, free resources, and things for teachers and schools to facilitate that through the curriculum and through their teaching. And what I do specifically is facilitate more high-level maths and informatics competitions directly through the schools. And then from there, the program I run is called the Olympiads program. So it's a bit of a niche one. And we have an Australian team that represents the country globally in maths and informatics. So actually our maths Olympiad for 2020 finished up last night, and our informatics one finished up on Sunday morning. So it's been a busy few weeks,
Yeah.
especially with the COVID disruption. But yeah, we've managed to execute it, even though they weren't able to travel to their overseas countries to compete. They've done it virtually. So
Yeah.
it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. And so do you think now with COVID, do you think that will continue, just doing it online rather than doing the face-to-face stuff? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but
I think there's definitely aspects of doing it virtually that we've kind of been able to test and get some feedback from this year, because in previous years we haven't really had the scope to try these things, but it's forced us in a way during COVID to do that. So there's definitely aspects of it that I think will create a bit of a hybrid in future years, to take the best aspects of face-to-face and virtual and combine them in a lot of ways. That's quite exciting, I think, to try new tactics and things later on. Yeah.
Excellent. And so tell me, what has been some of the best advice that you've been given in relation to your career?
I remember back at uni, you had this great saying called feel the fear and do it anyway. And that's really stayed with me through uni and even now into my career, and especially back then when it was things like applying for work experience, just really putting yourself out there. It can be super uncomfortable, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you feel doing it in future, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And another great piece of advice that I got recently, actually kind of through COVID in my role, was just to better nurture the relationships that I have with key people that help us achieve our objectives through this program. So especially, now that COVID is here and it's not going away, it's just about really nurturing those key people we have that do a lot for our organisation, and really we couldn't run the program without them. So that's been great feedback in my role.
Yeah, and I mean it's true. Like the relationships are what underpins everything, and
Exactly,
the quality and strength of those relationships is it will determine just how long you will last as an organisation. So
exactly,
so important. And feel the fear and do it anyway. Like it's true. And sometimes like the fear, it doesn't go well. Like I still get scared with things, and just say, okay, I acknowledge it, but I'm not going to let it paralyze me. I'm still going to do it anyway.
Exactly.
Sometimes it just doesn't go away. Like, but you just learn to live with it anyway, and just keep doing and keep growing.
Yeah. It's not quite as daunting after you've done it a few times either, even though there might be a little bit of anxiety. You know what to expect generally.
Yeah. And I think it's good to be a bit scared about things, because it shows that you actually care. If you were no sort of emotional sort of trepidation or anxiety around something, maybe you just shouldn't be doing it, because you've done it that much. So
for sure.
Yeah, but and tell me, from your experience at university, what have you found to be some of the most important things that you learned to take with you into your career now? Like, what has been most useful that you gained from studying at uni?
Just broadly speaking, I think it was learning to harness all the feedback that I received, which I feel like is a great skill to have in your career. So, for an example, when we did assignments at uni, I would love to know my mark, but I would always be so hungry to know what the actual feedback was in each piece of assessment I had, whether that was creating a marketing campaign, or for some of your classes where we did social media posts and working for real life clients. It was just understanding that feedback and really using that to help me develop my skills further, and learning, okay, what worked, what didn't work, and taking that into the real world. Actually, having managers, for me, it's really important to get regular feedback on the things that I'm doing and the events that we hold, not just with my direct line manager, but also the other project managers that we work with and staff, because it's so valuable to get the feedback from so many different people to create almost a whole picture and understand maybe some of the bottlenecks in different areas of the event that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And what degree did you do? You did a.
I majored in communication. Oh, sorry, my degree was communications, and I majored in marketing and public relations.
Yeah, that's right. Because I remember I did a lot in PR and in social media. So.
Yeah.
And so, what did you wish you had learned at university? That, like, what didn't university prepare you for that you wish we should include it in our degrees?
Looking back, I feel like I didn't take advantage of some of the digital courses that I could have done. So once I graduated and I was looking for jobs, I found a lot of employers were looking for someone with digital marketing skills, which are offered at USC, but I just didn't take those particular classes within my degree. So looking back, that's something I definitely wish that I could have taken more of, was the digital marketing type courses. I feel like a lot of the skills that I learned was actually through the final internship that I did, which was part of my uni course. It was things like Google AdWord campaigns and working on the back end of WordPress and things like that. So I was lucky enough that I learned those skills, but it just wasn't through my uni course.
Yeah. Okay. And so what do you think set you apart from other people going for that role at AM?
I think because I was so passionate about working in the not-for-profit sector once I graduated, I tried as best as I could to get my work experience going through uni. I started, I think, in second year doing work experience roles to really tailor that to not-for-profit organisations. So on my resume, there were a lot of work experience roles that I had with not-for-profits. And I was also, going back on the feedback that I spoke about before, I was able to talk to the people that interviewed me for the job, and I asked them, can you give me some feedback about my interview and what was it really that set me apart from the other people you were interviewing? And they said that it was about the questions I asked them after my interview. Yeah. So for me, it was really important to interview a potential employer just as much as it is important for them to interview me. So I asked them questions like, what are some of the best qualities of your most successful employees? Or if you hire me a year from now, what's something that I can do that you will think hiring me is a success? Or I think I asked a question like, is there something on my resume that I don't have that would make me a better fit for this role? So that they said that really set me apart from everyone else that they interviewed for the role, which I thought was actually quite surprising.
Yeah, well, they're great questions. Yeah, I think, and I hope people watching this will, who are job seeking, will take that on board, because it is important to ask questions. And if you're not prepared and ready, because every interview they'll say, "Do you have any questions for us?"
Exactly.
Ready. That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, look, I know now your role really it's more event and program management, not strictly, say, social media. But I always like to ask, is part of if there's been any sort of social media related like tip or tool or bit of information that you found out in the last couple of weeks that you found quite interesting that you'd like to share.
So there's actually two things that I want to share. Recently, I found out about a communications app called Discord that our informatics team used in their training up until their Olympiad. So basically, it's almost like Slack, but to me, it just seems a little more feature heavy. And they were able to actually take their exam because they needed to be monitored via video to ensure, everything was ethical. They were able to do all of that through this one app, which I thought was really great. So until then, I hadn't heard of this app called Discord, and now I'm a little bit intrigued about it in terms of when we have our big training schools and events to use that potentially with staff as a way to communicate between us. And yesterday morning, I also received an email from Facebook about Facebook shops for one of the Facebook pages that I'm attached to. And until then, I hadn't even heard of Facebook shops. So I looked into it a bit, and it seems like a really interesting new e-commerce feature. Yeah,
it's going to be great. So it means that, it's going to be great, but that means now we'll be able to actually shop in Facebook. We won't have to actually go anywhere. So we'll have to be careful with that. But because we'll just think something and go, oh, that looks good. I'll jump onto that. But yeah, it's going to be great for businesses and organisations because it makes things so much easier in terms of those skills. So, and I think too, the analytics behind that as well of what.
Definitely.
And you'll be able to advertise within the shops as well. So it's going to have a huge functionality. I think it'll take a little while for everything to roll out though, and all the features to become available. But once a couple of years, it's going to be really great.
It's going to be huge, and because with our Facebook page, we do get a lot of inquiries about problem-solving textbooks or resources, kind of pushing people in the right direction. And if we're able to list those on Facebook directly, it might just be as easy as sending them a link to this part of the Facebook page where you can check out some of these resources.
Yeah, no, it's going to be it's going to change a lot, I think, and I think that it'll sort of start other platforms doing similar things. I think you can purchase on some platforms now, but I think it's like with everything, sort of there's one platform that does it first and then all the other ones sort of adopt it. So if you think of like live video and stories and things like that, so I think this will be the start of that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, and so tell me, what advice would you give to emerging professionals, social media or not, but just, current students or emerging professionals about how they can succeed in their career? Because, I mean, this is coming from someone who had, what, 2 promotions in 6 months. So you clearly know what you're talking about. So please
Oh,
share your knowledge.
I feel like while you're at uni, it's just super important to get as much practical experience as possible. For me, I can only speak from my own experience, but I would encourage if students have an interest in a certain area, whether that be fashion or healthy living or sport, for your own personal satisfaction, because you spend so long in your job, try and find an area that you feel like will be the most personally satisfying for you and enjoyable, and try and get work experience in that particular area. If you're into sport, that might just be volunteering for the local football team or the local tennis club, and really trying to get your foot in the door to that particular area. And work experience has so many benefits as well, finding a mentor and really having someone that can guide you in a lot of ways, just networking in general. And also, when you're applying for jobs, it just looks amazing on your resume when you can say you've learnt these theoretical skills at uni, but you also have all these practical skills that you've done throughout your degree. And it's about, shows time management as well, when you can juggle study and work experience. So that would be my advice, to just get as much experience as possible, so you're more equipped when it comes to applying for jobs.
That's right, and you need to stand out. And I mean, that's one of the reasons, like now, because now you see we have the social media degree and the major, we have a major in it all now, and most of those courses now, students are getting practical experience with real clients in there, because there's only one internship in a lot of courses, and it just wasn't enough. So there's those opportunities now, but yeah, like just really making the most of the opportunity to get that practical, because it'll just set you apart, and it won't be so daunting to get out working, because you would have already stuff.
Yeah, and that's another thing that you don't learn at uni, is kind of just the general tone of an office and how to interact with other people from different departments and different backgrounds and things like that. So it's more than just learning the social media or the PR or the marketing skills. It's just how to, I guess, engage within a professional workplace as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the most important questions of this session is, who do you like, share, and follow?
So on LinkedIn, there's actually this amazing organization that I follow called Code Like a Girl. And that's more from a professional standpoint from my role, where they're all about trying to get more girls and women into the coding and the tech space. So I love following them and seeing all the amazing things they're doing with young women and women in STEM. I just think that's amazing. And on LinkedIn, I absolutely love Tourism Australia's page. I think tourism marketing is just an absolutely fabulous area of marketing, and just the content they produce, I just think is wonderful. So on Instagram, it's those guys, and also this page called The Inspired Unemployed. They're they're almost like a new brand of influencer that I really like. And instead of their content being polished and perfect, it's more just trying to engage their audience through humor, which I really love. So yeah, it's like this new brand of influencer that
I follow them on TikTok. They're hilarious.
Oh, yeah, they're so good. I'm always sharing their videos with my sisters and my friends, and we get a good laugh out of it. So they're great.
They're really good. Okay, and do you have any final things to say to the audience that are watching?
My final words would just be, find something that you genuinely enjoy doing. It just makes so much of a difference to your work ethic and your personal satisfaction within your role. So yeah, just find your kind of a niche area that you're really passionate about and go for it.
Excellent. And I mean, well done to you. I mean, talking about fear, like you're living in Brisbane or the Sunshine Coast when you're at uni. So you've moved on your own, I'm assuming, from one end of the country to the other, for your work, to find a job in an area that you really love, and And I just think that's amazing. So well done
Oh,
to you.
thank you. Thanks, Karen.
Okay, and so we've had some comments here from Anthony Roberto. So he said, firstly, greetings from sunny Melbourne, not. He said, when we're talking about fear, that fear can actually be a driver of success, which is very true. And he also talked about establishing and maintaining and building relationships with all stakeholders is so important.
Definitely.
And he said, great to hear your perspectives on study and employment. Best wishes and continued success in your career.
Oh, thanks, Anthony, for the lovely comments.
Yeah, so there you go. And so this brings us to the end of this episode of Like, Share, Follow. And next week, I will be speaking to Cal Gordon, who is a USC grad also, and he is a freelance PR consultant. So I'll see you all next week. Thanks so much, Jemma.
Thanks for having me, Karen. It's been great.
See ya.
Bye.